Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here again. So now what?
The first question I want to ask is, were you trying to call on me yesterday and I didn't raise my hand, or is that something I'm projecting onto you? Because I kept feeling like Abraham was over here like for a while, but I didn't have a rocket of desire question.
What you were feeling was the momentum of it unfolding. And that was a good feeling, wasn't it?
It was great.
It is the feeling that we want you all to realize is there for you on your way to all manifestations of desire. If you can begin to enjoy that feeling of unfolding rather than needing the unfolding to have already happened, that's just a lovely state of being to be in. And that is the most significant thing for you to focus upon these days. It's coming. It just does not have to come this red hot minute. And there's plenty of good feeling as it is coming. In fact, that's where the juice is. Because once it has come, next.
I was sitting there from about 9 a.m. till 11 a.m., just constantly with tears of gratitude because I moved here Friday and showed up here Saturday, obviously. And I was just in such it didn't feel like a rampage of appreciation, it just felt like a waterfall that was just never ending. And truthfully, I didn't really even hear much of, that's not true, I heard everything you had to say, but I was unable to take in anything that you were saying because I was just doing my best to revel in the energy, because I have been in the hot seat once a few years ago. I didn't remember anything you said then either, because the energy is so kinesthetic and visceral, and I can feel more than I'm taking in auditorily.
Well, you know, the whole point of the words is to move energy, because we're projecting to Esther vibration that she is translating into words, and you are translating back into energy.
Not hearing you.
It's the whole point of all of it. And so for the rest of the seminar, it is the best way, really. The value of the words is that it brings us as a group to a collective central place. And so there is more synergy in that, more momentum comes. But it's a good thing. Everyone is being communicated to, and we are receiving from you vibrational communication that is much more important than the words.
Okay. I guess the question that I had that came about yesterday, and I'm having a really challenging time with, is that I am clear what my purpose in life is, aside from experiencing joy. I feel that I'm here to move, inspire, and teach others through storytelling, and I'm a writer and a storyteller. I write, almost everything I write is first-person narrative, memoir context, and I share things that are extremely vulnerable. And I wrote a memoir to contextualize it. It's called An Open Apology to All My Ex-Girlfriends, Volume 1. It's a letter to every woman that's ever had any significant emotional relationship or impact on me, from the first girl I remember chasing on the playground to a woman that I was just with. And I'm able to convey feelings and experiences that most men aren't willing to share about the heartbreak, about the falling in love, basically the emotional side, which really impacts women. To hear that, that's the constant feedback, is I've never heard a man speak like this. Thank you so much. You explained relationships that I've had and couldn't put closure on for 10 years, like a lot of stuff like that. So I know it has impact. It's what comes naturally to me. I don't even think about what I'm writing. I'm just writing. I feel the channel. But in so doing, I've really pissed a lot of women off. Some because I'm sharing about our experiences, others that get triggered by situations that I'm explaining, and that's really hard for me. So I'm having a really challenging time knowing what's right.
Challenging time what?
Knowing what's right. I feel like that's my bigger purpose and calling, but man, it really hurts some people.
Here's what's happening. We talked yesterday quite a bit about now, and how now is where all of your power is, because now is the junction where you meet you. And so what you're thinking about, what you're saying, what you're focused upon, what you're projecting vibrationally is having a relativity with the projection and the focus and the being of your broader perspective. And when those two are vibrationally jiving, then you're soaring. You feel exhilaration and love and all of those sensational, delicious feelings that connection means. If your current approach is different, your opinion differing from that of your inner being, then you feel differently. So the significant thing that we want to convey first, and then we'll wrap through all of this, because everyone has past experiences and everyone has things that from their now perspective they would like to have said differently. And in fact, that's what the famous concept of forgiveness is, where now from your connected state of being you see what you once lived and saw differently in a new light. So the most important thing that we want to give to you is that as you move through those experiences from the playground until recently, you were vibrationally wherever you were, which means you were in whatever receptive mode you were in, and you were experiencing whatever momentum that the thoughts of those times were creating for you. And so the long and the short of it is, you and everyone else were doing the best that you could do in that moment under those conditions of point of view, under those conditions of projection of thought, under those conditions of law of attraction's response to your projection of thought, under the conditions of whatever momentum you had going, and whatever condition of alignment or not you had going then. So to be in your now and get into a place of alignment and then rethink some of those things can be beneficial to you and everyone else involved, because from your tuned in, tapped in, turned on point of view, and with the assistance of that broader knowing and loving of the source within you, you can expend or project love and light using that as your topic for doing. But if you are looking back at something and feeling regret about it, then in your now, you're not choosing alignment with source. You're not choosing the receptive mode of source energy and the benefit of all that that inner being knows as a result of what you've been living. Instead, you're choosing a receptive mode of something else that a lot of people, there's a big current of that. And as you choose that receptive mode, of course it feels like you're channeling, you are. Of course it feels like you're flowing, you are. But you're not flowing your current tuned in, tapped in, turned on position. You're flowing the momentum of all of the pain and suffering that you were living along the way. And you can get very deep into that, and you can become very insightful, and you can not recall but vibrationally tap in to a lot of things. But we want to ask you to evaluate the value of anything that you are doing in your powerful now by the way it feels in your powerful now. Sometimes people ask us about forgiveness. They want to know what we think about it, and we say, we understand the concept, but we never forgive. And people are shocked by that. until we explain that we don't forgive because we have never hated to begin with. We don't have something to forgive because we have not been out of vibrational alignment with what you are wanting to call source. Forgiveness is a sort of after the fact trying to make up for where you were then. And there is no way to after the fact make up for anything. You can only be present in your now. You can only be who you are now, presenting yourself now. You can present yourself now about something that you've lived before, but you're doing it now. Whether you're thinking about the past or thinking about the future, you're still doing it now. So the only question that we would ever ask you to ask yourself is, from what point of receiving am I in my now presenting? So if we were standing in your physical shoes and we were writing a letter to all of these ex-beloveds, our words would go something like this. Dear heart, if I had it to do over again, I would do exactly the same thing. Because that's where I was then, and I couldn't do otherwise, and I am frankly sick and tired of beating up on myself for not knowing everything then that I know now. We all did the best that we knew how to do. And then we would say, and thank you for the expansion. Thank you for the expansion. Thank you for the expansion. Thank you for the contrast. I thank myself for the contrast too. We provided contrast that caused us both to expand. And I am appreciating my expansion. And now I'm striving in every conscious moment of every day to be in alignment with who I really am, because I want to see the beauty that I know was present in you then that I could not see because of where I was. But don't proclaim yourself as wrong then, because nothing will separate you more from who you are in terms of your relationship with source energy than to pick some point in time in life and condemn yourself for your behavior.
That makes brilliant sense. I guess I struggle with reactions that feel like I shouldn't be sharing something. I'm not identifying any of these people by name, but they know who they are, so they feel like our private lives have now been exposed, and that's tough. I understand completely where they're coming from. It's not my intention to exploit. It's my intention to set up context for the reader of this is what went through. This was the perspective I had at the time. It wasn't the greatest. So I have a hard time with someone being pained by something I feel is my destiny, for lack of a better words, is to share my experience in that way.
Well, you can't take upon yourself anyone's responses to anything, but you are pouring a little bit of salt in quite a few wounds.
Yes.
And you must be prepared for the not this receptive mode, but this receptive mode response to what you're doing. No one wants to go back and remember hard times. And the interesting thing about it is we're just going to say it to you. You can have all of these step one moments that you want to have with this. In other words, because there are a whole lot of people that will relate with you in a whole lot of ways. But the only way to recover from heartbreak is to forget about it. Because when you tune back into it, when you focus back up on it, and you reactivate within yourself the thoughts that you were having while the heartbreak was happening, you just practice a vibration that keeps you separated from who you are. We want to refer you back to the conversation that we had yesterday about staying in your lane, about finding your place, knowing that you've got it, feeling not vulnerable but sure-footed, not afraid but confident, not embarrassed but proud of yourself, not regretful but eager about what's coming, and then to practice the words that help you stay in that lane. And so what we're encouraging you to do is to move as far forward as fast as you can into what feels like the relief of that better feeling, and then speak from there.